Oh, I left this comment up, and we're going to talk about the Verret signing. But basically, the question is can Verret play safety and some corner coverages to keep him from injury? I don't think Verret can play safety. I think he's a bit undersized to play safety. But I will say this. The 49ers usually tend to draft a player or two and then make them move positions. And I think, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this year that player is Tariq Castro-Fields from Penn State, the cornerback. I look at him and I think they may ask him to play safety, because if you look at all the cornerback signings that they had, drafting 2 corners and then also bringing back Verret, I'm looking at it saying one of these guys probably has to move to safety. And when I look across the board, I don't think any of the current corners can make that adjustment. I certainly don't think it's Verret. I think that's a great question, by the way. I don't think Verret could play safety, but I look at that rookie in Castro Fields, and I think he might be the one that they ask to change positions. But overall, when it comes to Verret and that signing, what are your thoughts about Verret coming back? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. First of all, I don't know if they're going to make any of these rookies change positions. I think you might see Dante Johnson play a little bit of safety this season. So
I like it. Yeah,
I think that he's somebody that the team has trusted to play multiple roles, and he's somebody that has been efficient at any position that they actually put him in. So I think he is most likely the cornerback that can maybe play some safety if they need to. I think that the corners that they took are because Mosley isn't probably going to be on the team next season. So they're picking these guys to come on. And like I said, they're not picking for this year anymore, Jesse. They're thinking long-term. They're looking at contracts and seeing who's going and have a replacement already on deck versus having to be desperate in the year that they are drafting to hit on somebody right away. So I think that's smart. As far as what was the original question? I'm sorry. Oh, Jason Verret. You moved. Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, we talked about it. If they could get him on a vet minimum deal, which is what they ended up doing, having Jason Verret where you don't need him because he is on your depth chart as the 4th guy, maybe the 5th guy off the bench. If they could keep him healthy, Jesse, and come playoff time, you have Jason Verret healthy and firing on all cylinders. Charvarius Ward and Jason Verret on your outside, and then you move E-Man into nickel. Oh my goodness. Now you're talking about going from a cornerback room that already you thought was much better than we've ever had, I would argue, under this regime, to being maybe one of the best cornerback rooms in the league. Because Jason Verret healthy is a bona fide CB1. Like, he's a lockdown, put him on your best receiver, and you are liking your chances with Jason Verret covering one-on-one. Then you got Ward on the other side, who already is going to be our number 1 corner if Verret is there or not there. I just think it's a blessing, and kudos to the 49ers organization for treating players the way that they treat players, because this is reaping some of those rewards. They have stuck with Jason Verret through all of these injuries to where they can get kind of like a team-friendly type thing where he goes and gives basically the 49ers – the 49ers win on this deal, basically, to have the type of talent of Jason Verret for the price that they're paying him. And that's because of all the goodwill that they've shown him, that he wants to stay with the team like this that has seen him through thick and thin. So I'm all about it. It's a great move for me.
This is the best cornerback room that we've seen in a long time in San Francisco. I mean, top to bottom, it is super deep. Ambry Thomas is still there. I think Ambry Thomas is a good player. I know that there's mixed reviews on Ambry. I think when they signed Charvarius, that told me that the future was Ambry and Charvarius, because they want press man corners. And just across the room, there's going to be some good players and or guys that were drafted in the last year that are not going to make this team. It's possible that Lenore doesn't make this team. Darqueze Dennard, who they signed, doesn't make this team. Dante Johnson, if he doesn't switch positions, finally probably doesn't make this team. There's just a lot of really good players. Now, maybe Verret starts the season on the PUP or IR. And so that allows for that extra roster spot. They can sneak somebody else in and then move them to the practice squad. But this is a super deep cornerback room and very, very different from last year because Jason Verret, remember, that season we talked all throughout the offseason how the season hinged on Jason Verret, and he goes down immediately week 1 as the starter. This is a much different situation. I don't mind bringing back Verret in this scenario where he's not going to be relied on to be the starter. But if he is fully healthy, like you said, especially coming down the stretch of the season, we've got 2 arguable top 15 corners between him and Charvarius Ward. That is huge with this pass rush. So tons of depth, not only there, but the defensive line. And then also even the offensive line. We don't know what's going to happen with Mac, but I can tell you this. They drafted a ton of players. They brought in some undrafted free agents. They're just throwing a lot of players out there and having open competition. And that's the one big takeaway that I had from this draft, that the front office is not afraid of competition. They're not afraid to just bring in as much talent as possible and figure it out from there. I know that you had some thoughts about maybe what the draft told us. What did you pull away from the draft of what the front office is telling us?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think this front office is trying to create a dynasty. They're not looking to be one-hitter quitters. They're not looking to be, the Eagles that win a Super Bowl and then just fall off the map the next few years and, it just falls apart. Everything you just mentioned, Jesse, I was just in my head thinking, what does this sound like? And this sounds like Bill Belichick's Patriots. This is exactly what the Patriots did. They drafted a whole bunch of people, competition at all times, get rid of guys 1 year too early versus 1 year too late. And there was nobody that was safe, quote unquote. Like you always had to compete for your position. And that was the reason why they were able to, sustain as long as they did. Right. Obviously they had, the GOAT at quarterback. That helps a lot. But as far as the philosophy, the 49ers are kind of doing the West Coast version of that. And I just think that bodes well. This team drafts very, very well. I talk about it, and you've mentioned it too. But if you take out the 2017 first round, Jesse, to me, this is a top 5 drafting organization. Those 2 first-round picks in 2017 is the only reason why they're brought down. But if you really look in depth as far as how many players actually make the roster, how many players are still on the roster, and how many all-pros they've been able to get all through, what doesn't matter what round, they've been able to get through the draft. These guys do a phenomenal job picking people that are scheme-specific, that are character-specific, that buy into the 49er way. And I just don't see any of that changing with who they picked this draft.
Yeah, it was certainly a different draft, but you're right. I mean, overall, the first team All-Pros that they've been able to draft, regardless around whether it's Debo or Bosa or Warner or Kittle, I mean, that's 4 first-team All-Pros that they've drafted. Then let's not forget, some of those draft picks went towards Trent Williams, who's a first-team All-Pro caliber player. So how many guys they've pulled from the draft, whether it's through trade or actual draft picks, has been absolutely phenomenal. No team is perfect. No team can ever be perfect. But they've really brought out top-tier talent from all their drafts. We'll see who or if they can do it again with this draft. Time will certainly tell.